Hello, and thank you for watching our video sharing recent updates to the state of Nevada's policy statement on expulsion and suspension in early childhood settings. This video is brought to you by Nevada Pyramid Model Partnership. The state's policy has recently undergone some edits for better clarification in order to better support our early childhood community. Nevada's policy statement includes the following 4 parts: purpose, key terms and definitions, overview, and guidelines for early childhood programs. We will review more in detail during this video, as well as review the suspension and expulsion notification process. Nevada aims to prevent children from being expelled, suspended, or excluded in all early childhood settings. These exclusionary practices are adult behaviors that occur in response to children's consistent, persistent, and/or intense challenging behavior. These adult behaviors do not teach children the needed social and communication skills to be successful, and they prevent children from accessing educational opportunities that would teach these age and culturally appropriate social and communication skills. The goal of this policy statement is to provide guidance to programs and families to align their goals with desired outcomes by creating policies that promote inclusive, positive guidance and discipline practices that eliminate expulsions and suspensions. Prevention is key. The purpose is laid out in 5 key factors. Let's look at those now. To provide clear and explicit definitions of expulsion and suspension in early childhood settings. Raise awareness and understanding of the importance of social and emotional development and behavioral health for all children, regardless of ability or disability. Provide guidelines for programs to create policies and implement social and emotional teaching practices that prevent suspension and expulsion. Set the expectation that policies and practices are carried out free of bias and discrimination. And encourage training on evidence-based practices to teach and support young children's social, emotional, and behavioral development. Here are a few things to consider. This statement follows recommendations from the U.S. Department of Education and U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Programs receiving federal financial assistance must practice equitable student discipline and support healthy social, emotional, and behavioral outcomes for young children of all backgrounds. Public and charter school programs are also required by the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act to follow regulations regarding child discipline when behavior is related to their disability. Nevada's policy aligns with IDEA's emphasis on families and child's right to inclusion and equitable access to education and services. Next, we will review some important terms and definitions. As mentioned earlier, one of the main reasons for this policy is to communicate clear definitions so we're all on the same page. We will begin with social and emotional development. This is the developing capacity of the child from birth through 5 years of age to form close and secure adult and peer relationships, experience, regulate, and express emotions in socially and culturally appropriate ways, and explore the environment and learn, all in the context of family, community, and culture. This is also known as mental health. Behavioral health is the promotion of mental health, resilience, and well-being. Early childhood program or setting is any educational setting where young children are in attendance, birth through kindergarten. An inclusive program or setting is any education setting where all children, regardless of their abilities, disabilities, or healthcare needs, have access to regular education classroom settings. Challenging behavior is any repeated pattern of behavior that might be interfering. Every child engages in some form of challenging behavior. It's challenging behavior that is persistent and consistent that will require effective teaching strategies. Consider what we can do to teach children more appropriate behaviors. There are 3 types of suspension that occur in the early childhood setting. In-school program suspension. This is the temporary removal of a child from the classroom and/or class peers. The child is sent outside of the classroom, perhaps to another class or the director's office, for maybe part of the day or multiple days in response to challenging behavior. Short-term out-of-school program suspension is when a child is sent home for part of the school program day in response to challenging behavior. Out-of-school program suspension is when a child is not allowed to return to the school program for 1 or more days in response to challenging behavior. This also includes a modified schedule or shortened days. Expulsion is the permanent dismissal of a child from a program in response to challenging behavior without the benefit of alternate services. This does not include transition to another program, service, or classroom, such as a special education or therapeutic preschool program that might be deemed more appropriate for that child if done in collaboration with the family and the receiving program, service, or classroom. This should only be used for extraordinary circumstances where safety is threatened and cannot be addressed by other developmentally appropriate practices. Expelling a child is the most severe punishment a program can enforce. Did you know? Preschool-age children are 3 times more likely to be expelled from school than children in K through 12 schools. There are large gender and racial differences seen nationwide as well. Nevada's providers can be categorized into 3 areas. We have our Head Start or state-funded pre-K, special education services, and our private and nonprofits. Of Nevada's preschool-age children, about 8% attend state-funded and Head Start programs. Another 7% are served through special education services, telling us most young children who are in early childhood programs attend private and nonprofit programs. Expulsions occur at the lowest rates in state-funded preschools and in Head Starts, and occur at the highest rates in private and nonprofit preschools. However, no state is required to keep track of disciplinary practices taken. Expelling or suspending children from early childhood programs can influence their social, emotional, and academic development throughout adulthood. When young children are excluded from school, it can take longer to identify developmental delays or mental health concerns. This can cause delays in access to needed support services. Preschool expulsion also impacts the family system. Families might feel rejected when they're asked to leave. This rejection affects parents' abilities to form relationships with schools in the future. Lack of care for young children places stress on parental employment, finances, and esteem. Children with challenging behavior also receive fewer positive interactions from teachers and other adults, and they're less likely to be engaged in school than their peers. Early behavior concerns can create lasting effects that become difficult to reverse and often extend into adulthood. The good news is that the early childhood years are the optimal time to teach the social and emotional skills that prevent the need for young children to engage in challenging behavior, thus preventing expulsion and suspension. Nevada's policy statement lays out some guidelines for early childhood programs. We encourage you to build positive school climates and promote social and emotional development and behavioral health for children, families, and program staff. You may be asking, what are some things we can do? Start with the foundation, building strong relationships with families that includes effective and regular communication. If regular communication is occurring with a family to share positive things about their child, It typically will make it easier to approach the family when a more difficult conversation may need to occur. Develop and clearly communicate classroom and program-wide strategies that support the development of social and emotional skills and prevent challenging behavior. These include, but are not limited to, policies and procedures, classroom-wide behavior expectations, and predictable and consistent schedules and routines. This allows for easy transitions and growth within your program and will make it more likely that the family will stay with you until their child is entering school. Ensure staff receive professional development on some of these key areas, such as understanding appropriate behavior expectations, prevention strategies, teaching strategies, as well as supporting teaching staff to recognize their own well-being and social emotional needs to be successful teachers. Our Nevada Pyramid Model Partnership team offers trainings for free each month, the second and fourth Tuesday. You can check out all of our upcoming training opportunities on the Children's Cabinet website. Just click the link at the top that says Classes and Events to register. You can also find all of our trainings on the Nevada Registry website. Programs can use a social emotional screening tool to provide families and teaching staff with information. Programs are encouraged to provide families with information on the importance of a social and emotional screening, as well as provide needed resources and who they can contact if they have concerns about their child's development. If you have any questions about who you can call, reach out to Nevada Pyramid Model Partnership and we can help you find the right contact. Programs are also greatly encouraged to create and clearly communicate concrete policies on child guidance, discipline, suspension, and expulsion. Our Nevada Pyramid Model Partnership quality specialists can provide support in several ways. This includes professional development and/or technical assistance to implement preventative policies and practices and accessing resources when concerns arise for a specific child or children well before suspension or expulsion are considered. Why notify? Not all programs are aware that our Nevada Pyramid Model Partnership team is here for support. If notified right when a challenging behavior occurs, it can prevent an expulsion from happening. By working together, we can then reduce stress on families and stress on our teachers. To complete the notification process, you will go to the Children's Cabinet website, www.childrenscabinet.org. On the top navigation bar, click Our Programs, then Programs for Child Care Providers. Once on the page for providers, you will scroll down to find Nevada Pyramid Model Partnership and suspension and expulsion support information. You will click the link to take you to the notification form. Once you arrive to the form, you will notice some items are marked with a red asterisk, meaning they are required pieces of information. Many items will not have this because you may not have all the details, and that is okay. It is a fillable form. We do ask that the child care provider name be included. That is a required piece of information. If you know a contact name on site, and then the center type. The person reporting, which would be you, is required. How did you hear about it? Was it something you witnessed in person? Did you hear from a parent or a provider? What type of event happened? Type of suspension, or was it an expulsion? Do you know the date of the event? We also ask that you share anything that you may know or may have been told. If you know the age, gender of the child, are they receiving subsidy assistance? The last question is the child's race. You will click Submit, and it notifies our team. A specialist will contact the program to then offer services. Here is a snapshot of what our team has been notified of in the last 2 years. Please note that this data represents a small portion of what may actually be happening. These notifications are coming to us most often from Children's Cabinet staff who may be getting phone calls from families who are looking for a new program because they were asked to leave. Please note that we are not a regulating agency. We are simply collecting the data to understand what is happening in our state and to connect providers to support. If you become aware of a suspension or expulsion, we encourage you to use the link on our webpage to notify us. When we are notified, we begin our support process by reaching out to providers and families. We can provide strategies for building skills such as emotional literacy, anger management and self-control, as well as skills for interacting with and bonding with friends, problem solving, and more. Together, we can reach the goal to reduce and eventually eliminate suspensions and expulsions. Families and teachers can learn about and implement evidence-based teaching practices for social and emotional development and behavioral health. Contact us if you need support with or have questions about how to teach acceptable behaviors in your program or classroom. You can reach Nevada Pyramid Model Partnership at our 1-800 number or email us at ecsupport@childrenscabinet.org. We would like to acknowledge our funders. Nevada Pyramid Model implementation is funded in part through Child Care and Development's Fund Subaward from the Nevada Department of Education, which is a pass-through from the Nevada Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Welfare and Supportive Services, Child Care Development Program, and in part by the Nevada State Department of Health and Human Services through a grant from the Health Resources and Services Administration and State General Fund. We thank you for watching.